I'm Svitek, 360 Creative Coach, and in this episode, I'm going to teach you how to assign tracks in Adobe Premiere for your final output for your movie, right? This can be a short film, it could be a feature film. Generally, most likely, this will be for a feature film. Now, let me give you some context, right? Like, why are we even doing this, and what does this ultimately mean? Well, when you deliver a movie to a distributor or a platform, they have a set of requirements called deliverables. And this is both on the video and audio side, right? So for video, it can have resolution demands, it can have codec demands, and all that sort of stuff. And that will be provided to you, right? And then they have their audio requirements. And what you're looking at right here on the left is the requirements that I need to deliver of my movie, okay? And as you can see, there's 40 tracks of audio that they want, ultimately. That's a lot of audio. And the way a movie ultimately kind of, when you finish it out, right, you can literally have thousands upon thousands of tracks of audio that go into your actual movie, right? With all the Foley, the sound effects, the ADR, the actual production sound, the music, and so forth, right? But ultimately, what you end up with is three groups. You have the dialogue, you have the music, and you have the sound effects, right? And those are combined to create the mix. And a mix can be a stereo mix. So that's typically what you have with headphones, right? You have a left channel and a right channel. Or, as now is more common in home setups, a 5.1 mix. So that means there's ultimately 6 channels. You have a center channel where most of the dialogue comes from. You have the left and the right channel that are on the side of it. You have the subwoofer, right? That's the LFE channel. And then you have the surround, which is behind. So it's 2 speakers behind a person. And that's the 5.1 mix. And of course, you know, it can go up from there. You can have a 7.1, you can get into Atmos and so forth, right? Like that's the big boy stuff. But for our general terms, we're just talking about a stereo or a 5.1. It would be nice if you included a 5.1 because, again, nowadays people have better setups in their houses, right? So that's that context. So let's start to break this down. What this is saying is that on channel 1, they want the master mix with the left channel of the 5.1 mix. Channel 2 is the right of the full mix for the 5.1. Then you got the center, the surround, then the left surround, the right surround. Now channel 7 and 8 is the left and the right channel of the full stereo mix, okay? And, you know, when you play a movie on a platform, let's just take Netflix, right? Let's just say these were all the channels that were available. What happens is if a person does have a surround capability in their home, then essentially Netflix will automatically just patch channels 1 through 6 and play those because it knows that the TV can handle it, more specifically the speakers. But if it does not, then it will essentially disable these channels and only play the stereo mix, channels 7 and 8, so it sounds good for the person, right? And it's mixed, quote unquote, properly. So that's how that works. Now, what are these additional channels and what's their purpose? Well, M&E stands for music and effects. So the rest of the 8 channels here represented is the music and effects only. You have 9 and 10 for the stereo mix, and then 11 through 16 for the surround mix. And the reason for that is, as you get down the line of things, you know, if it's so lucky to go international and they want to do dubbing, well then they essentially need to take out the dialogue and replace it with other actors, right? But they of course need the rest of it, the music and the effects. And so that's what this essentially provides them. It provides them the entire mix minus the dialogue, okay? Now, most places, as indicated here, like this is technically enough, but they would also like the rest of the stuff. And that's what this represents. 17 through 40 is essentially the dialogue, the music, and then the sound effects, right? Both for the stereo and the 5.1 mix. And it's very important, like this is what they're asking, and so each channel has to be very specific. I can't put the dialogue center mix for 5.1 when they're requiring it for channel 21. I can't put it into 17. So it's very important that you take the time to make sure these are all laid out. Okay, so now that we have that understanding, let's get into the actual project itself. So I always like to export out the actual edit. So here's my final edit of my movie, okay? It's about an hour and 30, and it's all the edits, the VFX, and video limiter, just to make sure that nothing peaks in terms of video and all that stuff, right? So that's all set to go. And the reason I like this, I could in theory export it all out at once in terms of just the video file and have just one track, but I like to, I don't know, it's just my sort of OCD of like, I want the final thing to come from the original stuff, right? As opposed to a copy, even though obviously the copy is not degraded in any way because it's all digital. Anyway, so then we have our sound design, and everything's been sent to me by my sound designer in exactly how the distributor wants it, right? So all these channels that they want, they have been laid out properly here. Now, to do this, we kind of have to set up our project accordingly, okay? And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new sequence. And I need to make sure that I select all the proper things correctly, okay? So I've technically already created this profile for myself, but let me walk you through it, okay? So for me, the editing mode, I just already selected custom because I'm going to customize it. Now, my time base, everything's in 24 frames per second. For you, it might be different, but you know, for our project, it was the standard 24 frames per second rate. We shot in 4K, and our resolution was this right here. So we're delivering on that resolution. We have a square pixel aspect ratio, and again, some of this will come down to ultimately what your distributor needs you to deliver. So check in for the video reference on that. But here's my resolution. I've also selected maximum bit rate, maximum render quality, all this stuff right here to make sure that's all good to go. Then what I want to select here is I've gone into tracks, and I want to make sure that I'm selecting multi-channel, okay? And now, yours is not going to necessarily look like this. You're going to have to add the audio tracks, and you just do that through right here. You just add plus, 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 and you can add as many as you want. What I'm going to do is actually delete those, because I don't need them. And the unfortunate part about all of this is that ultimately, you can only assign through Premiere 32 channels of audio. So it's unfortunate, and I actually spoke with my distributor, and what they said, just give me the 32 channels that are available, and the rest I'll just send them as what we call stems, meaning that each of these will be exported out as an audio file individually, and they'll have them for their records, okay? So, to that same effect, I can actually delete the tracks that aren't applicable to me because they're not available to me, okay? So the key here is also to make sure the panning alternates, okay? So the first one I have at negative 100, and then channel 2 I have at 100. Then negative 100, 100, negative 100, 100, right? So you go down this entire thing to make sure that they alternate in that way. And track type, make sure it's mono, okay? And then you can go ahead and do this here. We can. It's easier to do later because you can more easily see which one you're patching it to. So I'm going to save that for later. But you could do it here, where essentially what you're trying to do is, like here I have audio 1. You want to assign it, in fact, to go to mix track channel 1 through 2, right? So I've got that selected. Then for channel 2, same thing, you want it there. But then for audio channel 3, you would deselect the 1 and 2 mix and put it in 3 and 4 instead. And then the same thing with channel 4, and so on in terms of the groupings. And again, I'm going to do this differently, but you could do it here in that sense. So I'm going to title this sequence Final Master Video. Obviously, you would want to call it something more official than that based on the project that you're working on, but that's just what I'm going to call mine. Boom. So there it is. What I'm going to do just for my own benefit is drag it into my sequences. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all the video stuff and put it into my master project here. Boom, there's all the video. Cool. Now, you would want to double check it just to, make sure, but for the sake of this lesson and so forth, I'm just going to kind of, oops. I hate when it does that. Nope. There we go. Okay. Kind of botched it, but that's okay. Okay, so here we go. We have all of our audio tracks. And I'm trying to make everything as small as possible because obviously there's a lot of stuff that we're working with here. So the next thing that we're going to do is just go ahead and add these in. So I'm going to select 1 through 32. And then now what's probably going to happen, sometimes Premiere can be annoying like that. Okay, so I have to do them individually in that way. So I'm going to go ahead and throw all these in there, right? It's and I'm doing it quickly in that sense just to kind of speed this along, but as I said, be very, very careful, double check, triple check that you are putting the correct audio file into the correct track and that it's all lined up properly. Otherwise, you're going to have a nightmare of a time, right? And worse, like what would end up happening is, if someone's at home and they're, it's supposed to be set up for a stereo mix, but they're hearing the surround sound of the 5.1 mix and it sounds like garbage, right? You do not want that. That's the whole purpose of all of this. So as you can see, it's not hard, it's just laborious and tedious. So I'm still, and we're only at 14, right? But here we go. Slowly but surely, we're getting to the end of the line. Okay, we're at 16, halfway there in terms of this. Here we go. Slowly but surely. Okay, small victories, 20. Cool, 21. As you can see, the more I start to add, it kind of drags a little bit, right? It's just a lot. And you can see the different waveforms a little bit in that way. And here in particular, right, like there's basically no sound coming from the past few channels that I added because that's the dialogue, and dialogue, you usually have sit just right in the center. And so you can see that like big waveform is the dialogue, Here we're messing with the music. All right, so that's the surround music. Left surround music, right surround music. All right, and that's it. So there we have our 32 channels. Okay. So now what we need to do is, just go ahead and quickly save this. What we need to do, as I said, make sure our track assignments are good. And so we go into the track mixer for that. So I'll just expand this out. And so here we see, audio channel 1. And again, just double check that they alternate, that the odds are -100, the evens are 100. And so as we can see, audio track 1 is assigned to 1 and 2. 2 is assigned to 1 and 2 as well. Channel 3 to 3 and 4, 4 as well to 3 and 4. And here, for the rest of them, we need to change them up. So here we go, 5, 6. And again, this is just laborious as all hell. That's all this ends up being. Oops. So here we are on 7 and 8. Boom. 7 and 8. And again, it can be enticing to try to go as quickly as possible, but as I said, really give it that sort of care to make sure you don't muck this up, as the Brits might say. So slowly but surely, you might as well accompany me in getting this done. And let's see how long this takes me. I'm not actually timing it, so I don't know, but maybe you can do that for me, and you can kind of guess how long it'll take me to do all of them. And then if you're correct, just leave a comment and say so. And I'll respond with a cool, good job. And okay, here we go. We're halfway there, right? Slowly but surely, halfway there. Slowly but surely. I wish there was an easier way. And you know what? Maybe there is, and maybe I'm not aware of it, right? So that's the other thing. Sometimes there's 100 ways to do something, and, each one can be correct, but, which one is more efficient depends. Sometimes when you're doing stuff, it depends on you, and your preferences. See, right here, I made a mistake. I didn't deselect channel 1 and 2. Very important that you deselect, okay? So continuing on, we're on 23. We're getting there. We're getting there. Slowly but surely, we are getting there. Okay. 25, 26. But yeah, as I was saying, if you have any suggestions, from your experience of how to speed this up, listen, I am all ears. I am a student as much as I am a teacher. It's that old adage, the teacher learns just as much as the student. See, I mucked it up again. I keep not deselecting, so it adds more time for me. So yes, just double checking. And as I said, part of it is I'm doing this now, and I'll kind of do like a final run through just to double check. You're going to want to do that for yourself as well. So it's just a lot of making sure. So yeah, here we go. I'll just kind of scroll through. I'll do it a little bit quicker, just for the benefit of the video. Okay, cool. We're done, at least with this part. So what we're going to do is now select, we're going to go to the front of it. So this is the front of my movie. So you can kind of see it. I'm going to hit I for in, and then I'm going to go all the way to the end and just backtrack 1 frame and select O. So now I've marked an in and out point, and that way I can render out the entire sequence, right? That is the goal of doing that. Okay, so I'll do it this way. So we'll go to Export, Media, you can use the shortcut, of course. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and select preset, but I'm going to select right here more presets so I can kind of see this. And what I'm going to do is on my end, Adobe stock 4K DCI with audio, because that gives me the frame that I have. And now, mind you, I'm going to like alter a lot of the aspects of this, but this gets me close enough, okay? For you, you might, again, depending on what your format is, go with something a little bit different. So this is more of the video side of things. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And then in video, I'm going to make sure that everything is as I need it to be. I'm going to click more just to see this is all correct. Okay, I'm going to click use maximum render quality. Don't need the alpha channels. So that's all there. I'm not going to limit it. While I'm here, I'm going to deselect effects and metadata. General, I don't need any of these things. Okay, so the next most important part is selecting the audio. So here we need to make sure we have everything correctly. Sample size, I'm going to switch to 24 bits. Uncompressed is good, the sample rate is good, but we're going to go ahead and select more. Okay, so here becomes the other important thing. So I'm going to click the output channels and my options here. I'm going to select 32 channels. Okay, because that's what we have, that's what we're going to do. And channel layout, we're going to use mono. So in that sense, everything's good to go. You can rename it here if you want, select it where you need it to go. And then you just hit export, and then it goes. Now, I'm not going to do it because this would create like pretty much a 600 gig file that will not fit at the moment on this hard drive. So, but that's essentially what you would do. So there you have it. That's how to export out a master file with, proper track assignments. Now, for the other ones that we didn't get to include on this, right? So anything beyond 32, what we do in that case is, so we would start with 33. There's other ways to do it as well, but here's one of them. You could do export medium. And then for this one, you're gonna select waveform audio. Call it what you want. Call it a proper name that makes sense for what it actually is. You can deselect effects and metadata. And here, same thing. You're just gonna make sure, and instead of stereo, you're gonna select mono. So, because it's only got one channel, and you're gonna do 24-bit. And then, you export out that one. Boom, and you do that for each of the remaining tracks. And then when you hand over the hard drive, it'll have that master video with the 32 channels, and then additionally it'll have 33 through 40, so they have them as well. So there you have it. A bit of a lengthy episode, lots of details, but certainly I wish this was, because I did scour online tutorials to see this, and no one had done this, so hopefully this helps you. If you have any questions, please comment down below. I will do my best to answer them, and as I said, if there's other methods, better methods, I'm open to them as well. But anyway, thank you so much. I truly appreciate you, and hope to see you next time.